Hello everyone. Why should managers know a little bit about economics? We need to analyze the reasons why we have to study. The first and foremost thing is that we should know our environment. As a manager, we work in a firm. When we work in a firm, that firm exists within an environment. And the firms operate within the structure of a market. Look at our current environmental situation, where the pandemic in sometime in March completely turned upside down the entirety of the functioning of firms in our country, the globe across. And the structure, whatever be the structure, whether it was a competitive market, whether it was a monopoly, whether it was an oligopoly, everyone got hit. And therefore, we need to study the environment in which we are. It could be a political issue, it could be a sociological issue, it could be a medical issue, it could be a legal issue, it could be a pure economic issue. So we are looking at the environment being understood and the impact of the environmental changes being captured, and therefore that is important. Managers take decisions to maximize profits and give value to in a very competitive market. Customers expect least prices. Companies expect maximum prices so that profits are maximized. Managers have to balance between the company objective of maximizing profits and the customer objective of minimizing prices. For this, a study of economics is concepts of economics is important. The central problem of the manager is that there exists a scarcity syndrome. The resources are scarce. We don't have all the resources that we can claim to have. So we have to make allocational decisions. What should I produce? How much should I produce? Where exactly should I produce? Should I produce in a state where the labor regulations are less stringent, where it is more conducive to produce? So where should I produce? When exactly should I produce? So if I am a firecracker maker, I will produce during Deepavali. If I am a doll maker, I will produce during festival seasons. So it depends on when should I produce. When must I charge? What must I charge my customer? When must I give a discount? So all these are, how much should I spend on advertisement? Where should I advertise? Should I advertise on the net? Should I advertise in the newspapers, which is now out of print, is going out? Is it in the social media that I should be present? So manager's central problem is to captivate your segments of markets. Those markets to whom you sell make decisions which will affect them in a very positive manner. So my economic objectives will be to maximize my firm's profit, ensure return on investment. Somebody has invested money. The entrepreneur or the capitalist who has invested the money, or the shareholders who have invested the money, or the trustees who have constituted a charity trust. Each one has invested, or everyone has invested, and I, as a manager, have to return a comfortable in a comfortable manner to the investors. So organizational environment is complex. I have to match all the cash inflows that come in. If as we saw during the pandemic, there are no cash inflows into restaurants, so restaurants are going broke. There are no cash inflows into many small businesses, except perhaps into medical stores, perhaps into the provision stores. Malls started closing down, no cash inflows. So the shops within malls are closing down. So, and then there are expenditures. You cannot stop electricity. Can you cut off electricity? Cost-based cash outflows. So you have to balance. Optimal profit levels have to be a trade-off between the limited resources, the environment in which we are, the production or service patterns, and all of the costing has to be minimized. And therefore, knowing economics helps. It helps in production, it helps in exchange and consumption decisions. It also helps in deciding how big should I be. If I can manage in a small manner without much costs, I will do that. If I have to expand, if I have to diversify, as Lulu does, goes into various markets in Saudi Arabia, in India, in UAE, you go into various markets. So your size. So should I sell one item only? Should I be a wholesale dealer for just cement? Or should I sell several products under one roof? So it all depends on the segments that we target. If I am targeting a very expensive segment like the Omega watches or the Rolex watches, those are meant for the really classy, top, influential people. Then you need to advertise in those areas which capture their attention. And therefore, you look at economics helps in understanding segments. So finally, managers have three things to do. Define your objectives by understanding economics. Analyze the situation using economic tools. And finally, recommend the most economic solution. You are a homo economics. What is like you are man, the economist, and therefore you should look to economics very strongly, and that makes us study this subject.